Hello, everybody. Thank you for tuning in.
I think I just got caught off guard. We're here.
Yeah, the little timer thing was kind of a little bit short. So.
I was starting to count, and I'm like, wait, what just happened? I just got caught off guard. We're here.
Yeah, the little timer thing was kind of a little bit short.
I was starting to count.
Why do I have an echo?
Yeah, I think it was me.
Oh, it was you?
About that.
No, it's usually me, so thank you for not making it me. Well, anyway, hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in to episode 2 of
Learning Bigfoot.
We are very excited to have Daniella on the show with us from Hidden Existence and Bigfoot Odyssey.
Yes.
So thank you, Daniella, for being on the show.
Especially so late at night.
Thank you for inviting me. Well, I'm up for a while. I've got the researchers report in 2 hours, so it's a lot of that.
I'll trade you that, and you take care of my editing, and we'll kind of just do something different. Hope that works. So, everybody who's just logging in, everybody who's popping in, thank you for joining the show. For those of you who don't know, this channel, this show now is all about what the title says, Learning Bigfoot, learning what we can about Bigfoot coming in from the ground level. We haven't had any experiences. We haven't really gone out and pursued it. We haven't really done much in the regards of Bigfoot in any way, shape, or form, but our curiosity has spiked.
Yeah.
And talking to a lot of different people, learning of a lot of different experiences, hearing a lot of different stuff behind it has really drove us to get this channel going, get more people on, and just kind of have discussions about Bigfoot. We understand that there's already big channels out there that do this, but this way we can just we could all start from ground zero. We could all just start from scratch and kind of just learn and grow together and hear theories, hear ideas, hear experiences, and so on and so forth. So with that being said, we're going to hold all the questions until the end, probably 10 to 15 minutes at the end. Then we'll start pulling in questions from the chats. But I guess starting from scratch, Daniella, what got you involved with Bigfoot Odyssey and Hidden Existence? What drove you to start those channels?
Well, I didn't start. Bigfoot Odyssey is Kerry's channel. He'd already been going before I was even, thinking of being on YouTube, let alone being on the other side of a camera, because I prefer to be on the other side normally, so I was just following Bigfoot Odyssey. Because I was just like everybody else in the chat, just watching videos on YouTube, drawn into Bigfoot, no idea how, just a channel that was recommended. I wasn't even remotely aware of Bigfoot, or anything like that. And so I kind of, went through what a lot of people do is you start watching all these videos and you have no idea what this Bigfoot is. One minute there's paranormal stuff going on, another minute there's a lot of blob squatch going on, and I don't know what I'm looking at, and what is all this about? And so when Kerry's documentary came out, I really, thought, wow, this is so down to earth and real. It felt very genuine. The people he was talking to, and Kerry and his wife himself seemed like just decent, good people, so I was really wowed at their first documentary. I thought, this is the kind of thing I want to be watching, is real encounters and talking one-to-one with people. And so I started to follow them and would comment, and then I joined the group and fell out with some people in the group, and all sorts of things went on, and so me and Kerry started communicating, and the next thing I'm running the group on Facebook and trying to kind of set the bar a little bit of like what we accept as evidence, if we can call it evidence, or at least try and filter out a lot of the stuff that's just complete and utter, people sharing photos that don't even belong to them and asking people what they think. There doesn't seem to be a lot of, we can talk for years and years and babble on about it, but I wanted to get kind of serious about it and filter out all the rubbish and let's get real with this and let's try and, think of a logical way or a better way of presenting evidence. And so anyway, the next thing, Kerry's starting to do a few little things on YouTube, a few shows, and then just asked me one night if I wanted to join him to do this researcher's report. And I just went on, and then, nearly 2 years later, we're still doing it. And Hidden Existence just developed, after a year of doing researcher's report. Kerry kept saying, you need to get your own, should do your own channel. I was like, why? And he's like, do it. So Hidden Existence was created and kind of do the same thing as Bigfoot Odyssey, but I delve a bit deeper and also touch on lots of other subjects as well, because it's a big wide world out there, and we're not just all here connected because of Bigfoot. We have lots of other things that interest us as well. So it's just developed into a pretty much anything goes channel.
Well, I mean that's really cool, and the fact that you came into it kind of like where we're at right now, but you did it a couple of years ago, is you just started kind of hearing more, started kind of watching more, and kind of piqued your interest into it. Since then, I know you've had a lot of people on the show, a lot of people talking about firsthand experiences, a lot of people kind of sharing different stories and whatnot that they've learned and heard. You also have an artist who comes on and he'll actually draw pictures. Can you tell me a little bit about him?
Larry Batson is an amazing artist, and I follow him on Facebook because he was doing art classes, which are really, really for kids, but it was at 9 o'clock at night for me because I'm obviously in the UK. And I used to just, he'd teach you how to draw an animal. And so for fun, I just found him really entertaining to listen to anyway. He's a really nice guy, and he's got some really good, he's old school Bigfoot. He's got some really good stories, and he knows a lot of the old school researchers back way before the internet, when people were really logging down information, writing it down and talking to people. And so anyway, basically he teaches you how to draw an animal from start to finish, and he just does it with a pen. I end up getting my watercolors out and I've been painting them. It just became like a really therapeutic hour.
Sure.
In the evening, just to get everything out of the way, sit down and just do this painting with Larry. So got to know Larry, and he does Bigfoot interviews and encounters, and he knows Bob Gimlin, and he's been doing interviews like that. And then one day I'm watching him and he's interviewing a guy and he's drawing his encounter, and I just thought, my God, that's amazing. This is like just not just hearing a story, but now seeing a picture. I just thought it was fantastic, and so I said, would you like to come on and do this drawing, but let's do it on my channel. And he was up for it, and we've done I think 6 or 7 now. And I just think they're amazing kind of therapy in a way, for people, maybe not at the time, because it's quite a thing for them to go through it. And that's what I realized is the shows we're developing, that actually it's taking a lot out of these people to sit there and describe what they've gone through, and then to see it. So it become a really kind of sensitive thing as well for me, that I knew I was putting a lot on people to come and share their encounters, but also to see at the end of it what it actually looked like. So they're really interesting shows, I think. I don't really call them entertainment, because I realised that I was really touching people's hearts and minds and sort of sanity sometimes with it. So it's interesting, process. So I really enjoy them.
Well, it is a really interesting process, and now that you bring that up, that's one thing that I wasn't really aware of is the amount of impact that people who had the firsthand experiences with them. Because I haven't really heard a lot of stories about people saying, "Oh, I have PTSD because I saw Bigfoot." I mean,
Right.
it's not something that you just hear on the
Mm.
general stream. Um, but when I was hearing Kerry and I heard him on Let's Talk Exploring talking about his experience, seeing his eyes, hearing his voice, hearing the emotion of how he was explaining what was going on and the questions he had and how it deterred him from even going hunting anymore and how he just kind of like shut everything down. I had never realized that people actually went through that because of Bigfoot. And so to me, that really caught me off guard.
Mm. I wasn't aware of that either. I
Um,
didn't realise at the beginning until really I was talking to Kerry, and he'd tell me how he'd feel, and I could also tell, with, like you say, when he tells his encounter, you can see him getting out of breath a little bit, and he's breathing, and it's clear that and so that's the other side to it is lots of people want to know what the encounter is, what the thing looked like, but don't really spend a lot of time thinking about the people
Mm-hmm.
that go through it. So I think I'm trying to find a balance with that. And I'm going to be introducing more stuff on my channel and Bigfoot Odyssey to get people together, actually, who have had encounters actually together. And I think there's a lot of things going on at the moment that I'm realising that we're missing a lot of information and detail. One, because it's hard to explain what you've been through, and there's also a lot of pressure on you having to see what people think you should be seeing. And when
Mm-hmm.
people aren't seeing that and something different, then they don't come forward. And I've actually experienced that myself talking to someone in this last week. And the pennies dropped for me that we don't know what we're dealing with. And all these different accounts and cryptids could be a lot different to what people are thinking. And we need to get more detail from people. So I think I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail. I've got something planned out. I don't really have all the details yet, to be honest. But I think there's something's going to happen soon that people are going to connect more, and I think we might be able to get some more details out, which might explain some things. I'm not saying we're going to get answers, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to be really therapeutic for people to meet with others, not just hearing someone's account, but actually being able to talk to someone who's been through the same thing as you together. I think is a different, kind of route. Maybe we haven't done yet. So,
and that's one thing that I've noticed we're still learning it. We're still in the very the infancy stages of this. But from what I know so far, the thing that comes up over and over and over is that it does change people, and it affects them on such a deep level, a personal level, that sometimes it's very scary to say, okay, I'm going to be vulnerable and share my experiences. Because like you said, if it doesn't match up with someone else's, you're already feeling vulnerable. You're already feeling like, who's going to believe this story? And then having people say, well, that's just in your head. You can't add that.
No. Someone had an experience.
You gotta take it all.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you have got to take it all. You don't have to put it all together, but you need to take it all, and then you can go through it.
Sure.
Maybe some things aren't connected, but until you hear it all. But one guy, I was just talking to a guy who was saw something he can't describe, and someone told him he'd seen a dogman. So now he's saying, well, I'm not sure because the eyes weren't the colour that people say dogman's eyes are, and I'm like, we don't know what dogman's eyes are.
Yeah.
So,
well, hold on. Let me pull my book out real quick and let me double check this.
Yeah.
No,
it's not on the list. No, it's
the
not.
eyes, the eyes aren't blue; they're red.
Yeah.
Tastes like chicken, not ham, right?
So he was reluctant to give detail.
Sure.
Because of that. So this is what I mean. People are feeling pressured even by coming forward to get it right, maybe, because they don't want to seem crazy than what they think they're already going to sound. So, we need to, I think we've got it anyway. We've got the spaces now for people to come and talk, and they know that we don't have to do it live. We don't have to do it online. We can always do it any other way. We're all contactable. So it's not about going live. It's not about doing a show. If people need to talk, get in touch. Get in touch with me, with Kerry, with Zach, any of us guys. Someone will listen and try and help.
Well, I'd definitely be willing to put my name on that list. I just wouldn't have a lot of insight to give back quite yet. One thing though that and see a lot of what I hear when we're talking about Bigfoot, it almost sounds identical to stuff we used to talk about when we were ghost hunting. Trying to gather evidence, trying to prove it exists, not trying to prove it exists, talking to people who've had experiences but were too afraid to talk about it because people would just shun them. I mean, the similarities, just for conversation wise, between the ghost hunting and Bigfoot, this sounds like you're talking about the same thing under a different name. It really does.
Yeah.
And one of the things I learned from back then is really doing your research on who you're talking to, because in the ghost hunting world, that everybody and their neighbor was a paranormal investigator. Everybody knew everything about ghosts. Everybody sensed something. Everybody picked up on portals in the closet, and it did get really saturated to where it was difficult to know who you could actually reach out to that actually knew what they were talking about. And the nice thing I like about Bigfoot Odyssey and yourself is the fact that you don't sit there and state this is fact, this is fact, this is fact, this is fact. You're saying this was a story I was giving, and this is another story I was given, and this is the interpretation I got from these two stories, and you're taking the information that was brought in and you're sharing it out as information, not fact. And I can't thank you enough for that, because when people start stating things as factual when they have nothing to base it off of, it's really hard to take them serious. And I know a lot of people, they tend to not be able to decipher the difference between an opinion and what they view as a fact. So to them, it may be factual, but to the rest of the world, it may just be an opinion. And so you have to be really careful with how you will go back and forth on that.
Definitely. Well, let me add that, I said to you before, I've said to Zach, when you said you're doing this show, Learning Bigfoot, and I went, I can't teach you anything about Bigfoot. I don't know anything, and we don't know anything, and that's the thing, is people who've had encounters know, an expert at their experience. They know what they saw.
You're right.
They own that. They own their experience, and that's it. But there's very little that we can say about Bigfoot. The biggest thing we can do is listen to people and give them the chance to share their information. And all right, some of it might not be right. Some of it, they might be confused. It might not, there's misidentification. I don't know, but they had an experience. And if they want to come and share it, come and share it, because believe me, the answers to Bigfoot are not going to be found on YouTube.
Dang, I was hoping it was going to too.
Well, I think there's bigger places where there's, you're going to find out what Bigfoot is. Coming onto YouTube thinking you're going to find any answers, I think is people getting disappointed. Hanging on to photos or video or thinking this is it doesn't really matter. For those who've experienced it, they know it's out there, and they're not playing that game. We've kind of like gone past that now, where we're just trying to, find maybe some better evidence, maybe, in hope to present it somewhere bigger, indisputable evidence. I don't know how or what that will be, but, there's a long way to go even before we know what Bigfoot is. You're talking about having to, for me personally, capture it, keep it alive, study it, understand what its behaviours are. I
Mhm.
can't see that happening. I mean,
Yeah.
it,
Well,
it's, we might be able to put a stamp on and go, yes, it exists, but we're still not really going to know a lot about this creature, I don't think, for a
Sure.
long time.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and you know what you were saying made me think about, you know, kind of going back a little bit about no two stories may be exactly the same because we all have our personal experiences. We all look through our own eyes differently. But you got to think, and this is I know nothing either, guys, so just this is just a thought I'm having. With all the humans there are, and from all the different places, ethnicities, and things that, all over the world, no two humans are the same either. So it's very possible that people's experiences are different because there's different, what's the word I'm looking for? Variations, not variations. What am I looking for?
Environmental differences.
Like different, not different tribes, but what's the word I'm looking for? I just lost it.
Cultures.
Of Bigfoot, just different species, different variations, different kinds. From
Oh yeah, there could be.
Yes, because you have to adapt from, like, if you have a bunch living in a humid, hot environment, they're gonna behave differently, possibly, and be different than something way up in the northern hemisphere. So
definitely. They can be that different. There can also be the difference of, like seeing a car crash, 10 people see a car crash, and you get 10 different accounts of what happened.
Yes.
It
the only
doesn't
thing
even
that's the
have
same
to
as
be
they
anything
crashed.
different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. Yep.
So many, what ifs and possibilities out there. It's hard to tell, isn't it? And this is what I mean. I try and keep as true to this subject as I can, and I honestly don't know anything about Bigfoot other than it is caused a lot of people a bit of distress, and it's obviously out there. But I think what I was trying to say before about, we can't tell you anything about it, but we can guide you how to think more about what you're being told. So a lot of people like to just repeat. Oh, Bigfoot does this. Oh, it doesn't like this. It doesn't, how do you know? You've listened to one story, or you're following somebody that you like, maybe their experience, this happened. Oh, well, Bigfoot must do that. It could be anything. So, as much as I want to, say, yeah, we kind of know what it is, I don't think we've got a clue. I really don't. I think we're further off knowing than what we think we do. But that's just me. I mean, I'm sat in England, in my little house, nowhere near America or a Bigfoot, as far as I know.
Well, I think it's the dialogue. I really do, because when we first started kind of just feeling the waters about what everybody who was involved with the Bigfoot was, we kept being told the same thing: is none of us know anything. We don't know anything. You know as much as we do. Well, that may be true in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of information that you've acquired just through conversation and through dialogue that we haven't heard yet. Some of the things that I think of is, when I watch these documentaries and stuff like that, I didn't know that they would take entire trees and build structures out of them.
No.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Or something was doing that.
Or something was.
So I don't know if Bigfoot is doing that.
Yeah, something is though. Something is though. That's why I said something.
Yeah, I mean, well, I've got my own. If Bigfoot was doing that, why isn't the whole forest like that? If Bigfoot likes to snap trees, why aren't we seeing loads of snap trees? And I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they do. I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those. We don't know. Has anyone ever seen a Bigfoot near a structure? That's my dog.
So call your dog Littlefoot.
So I like asking everybody that I come in contact this question, because everybody has their own opinion, and to me that's important to hear. everybody's opinion, whether it's the same or different from the last person. But what's your opinion on this, on Bigfoot? I mean, I feel like you have, your own idea or thought about it. I mean, what's your thoughts from everything that you've gathered or talked to? What's your?
I really don't know. I mean, some sort of creature, I'm presuming, just wild animal. My God, hang on, I need to. She's on my leather settee. She's gonna.
Yeah, muted the camera, not your
Hi,
mic.
Lee.
So you can still hear it.
Like throwing soft things at her to stop her, like, because she's deaf. Right, got a bit salty there. That's not good.
That's horrible. Welcome back.
Because she's like trying to, into the settee or on the carpet or wherever she is, like digging a hole somewhere.
No, that's okay. We understand. We have kids.
Right. Just have to ignore it. I really don't know, some sort of just intelligent wild animal, but I really don't know. And I'm sorry, I can't. I'd love to make up some ideas, but I don't know.
Thank you. Thank you for not making up ideas. Thank you.
It's just
exactly.
pointless.
It's just interesting. That's why I asked it, because it's interesting, because I know everybody has their own thought, whether it might conflict with somebody else's idea. But to me, I think that's great, because I like to hear what you think by gathering, because like Josh says, we keep hearing that, we're not an expert, we don't know this, we don't.
Nope.
See, the thing is,
back.
okay, so sorry about that. So the
Right.
thing is that you have gathered so much information from people that have had encounters or have gone out into the field and done research, whether it's fact or not. You kind of put all that together, I guess, in a way. As a researcher, you're constantly gathering evidence. So yeah, that's why I ask.
I just, I could argue every point what people make, because we don't actually know. I'm not going to, though, but I could have many arguments for why people believe things, and the point is that we don't have any proof. I'm not even going to go through them, but I just think we're a way off, knowing what we know. We're way off from knowing what we think we know. But I could be wrong. Could be completely and utterly wrong.
I like to hear it. I like to hear your thoughts. To me, it's interesting. I like it. So
well,
thank you.
Stuff like, if it's such an elusive creature, why would it leave structures about? If it doesn't want to be found, why is it leaving evidence about?
That's interesting.
If it goes to the effort of going back over its footprints, why doesn't it go to the effort of dismantling its structures?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be elusive, why are you showing yourself to people? I don't know. There's just my thoughts of maybe this creature isn't as sneaky as we think it is. It's just, maybe more scared than anything, because generally most animals are probably scared of us than wanting to attack us or, think of us as food. And maybe we just, they're vulnerable sometimes. They're doing something, they've got the kids with them, or they're looking at something that they want to kill, and then they're not perfect. We stumble across them. We must do. Maybe in Kerry's situation, I think they were trying to shout out to him for a long time, and he was just not even picking up on the signs, and they must have thought, right, one of us is going to have to go in front of him.
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to be all right? I'll go. Away from our turkeys or whatever. I think they maybe tried their best to warn him off, but I don't know. I think they're just like. I think they are clever, intelligent. They can communicate. Seem to be able to communicate. Throwing the stones for me could be two way of grabbing someone's attention, or trying to tell you to go away without hurting you, but trying to warn you. That takes some sort of intelligence. You don't want to hurt the person, but you want them to get a message that you don't want them to come closer to you. So, there's two ways you have to look at what Bigfoot's thinking, and obviously we can't, but we tend to think about how we think Bigfoot is thinking because of how we think, and it doesn't work like that with animals. They're not thinking like we're thinking.
That's true.
That's a good point. That's true. There's a lot of basic instincts that it doesn't matter what animal you are, you have. I mean, all animals have to eat. All animals have to drink in one way or another. There's certain elements for any animal to survive. That's the same across the board. So, a food source, a water source, and then shelter of some sort, whether it's caves or whether they make their own shelters, whether they just sleep under a tree, there's usually some type of shelter that most animals that I could think of need. But hearing similarities between different people's accounts, it doesn't make it, here's proof. But if you hear similarities between people who have come across Bigfoot, like if they were jogging, they were just going out for a jog, or if they were hunting, or if they were just going for a hike, or if they were just doing whatever it is they were doing, if you start picking up on similarities that they all witnessed right before they witnessed what they believe was a Bigfoot, then you could start looking for those similarities, especially because for me, I know that we're going to be going out with Bigfoot Odyssey in November if everything pans out to do filming. And so being able to know at least what to look for that could be a sign that there's one nearby or that there was one nearby. I would rather look at a giant footprint and say, okay, there's a possibility, instead of just looking at it and saying, no, that was a big tree stump that somebody just, did something to. Because I do see an element of safety as well. Safety as in, if you get too close, they might throw a rock at you to scare you away, or they may throw a rock at you to take you out. I don't know. I don't know if that's what they do. Think about. But I could imagine that there's probably some reports of people that have come across other animals, and in their state of panic, they identified it as a Bigfoot. I believe that could be a possibility as well, because nighttime, it was scary. They were in their tent, and all of a sudden they look out their tent. There's this massive creature right in front of them. I don't know.
Nighttime, I agree. Daytime, though, I think, people know what they're looking at. I mean, I've never seen a bear. We don't have animals over here that you have, or bobcat or anything like that, but pretty sure I'd know what I was looking at, even from my standpoint. But, yeah, there's always possibilities, isn't there, of misidentification, and, like you say, at night, like Florida's full of hogs and crocodiles, alligators, whatever's there, I don't know. But more things to worry about than Bigfoot, I think, who's just trying to get on with his day and would rather avoid you.
Well, Bigfoot came out with the original pair of crocodiles or Crocs. Shoes, that was a Bigfoot thing, He has a trademark on that.
I want to say something real quick. Dave said something that is really similar to how I feel about what Daniela knows. Daniela knows a lot about the phenomenon of Sasquatch, and it's one of the handful of people, I like that handful of people that can talk about it intelligently, putting it into some perspective.
Thanks, Dave.
I think that pretty much sums up what I was just trying to say earlier. I just couldn't put it in words. But yeah.
And that reinforces the reason why we wanted you on the show, is because we weren't expecting you to come in and say, yeah, I had a face-to-face confrontation and I ripped some fur off. We weren't looking for that. We know you're respected in the community. We know that you've talked to enough people on both sides, and we know that You've been gathering information for quite a while, and I'm sure there are some similarities you hear in some of the stories. And whether it's factual or not, I don't know, but the similarities are still there.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the direction that I'm going. Is I understand that we're not going to find out everything there is to find out about Bigfoot just by being on YouTube doing a live show talking to people. I understand that, but at the same time, I'm talking to people like yourself who interact with a lot of different people in the community and are respected. That's a big thing. You're respected by everybody. I mean, that message you just saw. I mean, you're recognized. Whether you know anything about Bigfoot or not, you're recognized.
Which I don't feel I do, but
the fact is that the more information we can gather, the more interviews and the more comparisons we can do with different stories. I do believe there are signs out there of something that we do not recognize. You can call it Bigfoot, or you can call it an ape tree, call it whatever you want. I just made up ape trees.
I know. A plus.
Kind of flew out there. But
Woodpecker.
the wood
I need Bigfoot now.
but seeing the warning signs of whatever it is that's out there. You can classify it as whatever you want, but if you can see the warning signs of it, I think people being able to be a little more aware of, this area here is not safe because of falling rocks that are thrown, but you just call it falling rocks to keep people out of that area, so it's a little bit safer and people don't go in and get hurt. But you're always going to have those people who are gung-ho and they think that they're just going to march right in and they're going to take over that entire area with things that would put them in their spot real fast. But I know that the Bigfoot topic has been around for an extremely long time. I know people have talked about Bigfoot since as long as I can remember in history books and everything. Before that, hopefully. But the topic about Bigfoot's been around for a long time. So there's obviously been something out there that's been triggering the mindset of an enormous creature that apparently, from what I've gathered so far, can move in a very stealth-like way. They can move very quietly, even though they're enormous. We've heard of cats that can be coming up on a prey just on the other side of a bush, and you'd never know it was there until it jumped out at you. So we know animals can be very stealth-like. So they can.
It's survival.
It is. But identifying certain aspects to be able to say, this is not a safe area, even though you don't believe in Bigfoot. There's possibly a sinkhole. Don't go over there because there's a sinkhole and you could fall into the ground. Just stay away from that area pretty much. But at the same time, I think the curiosity is not going to go away anytime soon. I think the curiosity of people pursuing it, wanting to learn more about it, and some people that just want to catch one for fame and glory. They want to be the person who caught a Bigfoot, get rich and famous off of it. But it's a creature off the planet. It's hid for this long, whether it's a big giant hairy monster or big furry monster, or whether it's a type of gorilla that's just been modified. I don't know, but it's hid. Yeah. And the body, people talk about, well, why don't you find bodies all over the place? Well, why don't you find humans all over the place?
Or other animals. We don't find a lot of, even over here, occasionally find a bone of something, but it just doesn't, and saying, when you're saying about, safety going out, it's not just Bigfoot. There's a reason why there's like trails to stick to.
Mhm.
Wherever you go out in the wild, once you go off the trail into the wild, there's other animals there that are habitating it, that are nesting, that are all sorts goes on in those areas because people don't go into them. And for me, I don't like to go off a trail, even in the woods, because I don't know what I'm stepping on.
Mm-hmm.
In some of the woods I go through is quite long grass and there's birds that nest in the grass and things like that. I think if you're going to go off trail, you can be disturbing absolutely anything.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make sense to do that anyway. I just think it's, and even more so now with me, I think you need to be careful when you're going out, and you should go out with someone. If you're going out looking for Bigfoot anyway, take a buddy with you, someone who'll keep you grounded, and you can check in with each other, and you can kind of, stay safe. But I think there's risks out there, so much more than what we've got over here. But in terms of, I don't know how long people would have to react if they did see one, when you consider the people like when you talked to Kerry.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how many seconds it was, but if you're planning on getting your camera out and taking a photo, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right.
He's got his wits about him, but he just, it slowed him down. It obviously he had to think about what was what was happening. So, I mean, I think if you're going to come across Bigfoot, I don't think it's maybe going to be when you're looking for one. I think it might just be on a lovely hike one day, or taking a picnic out in the woods, and suddenly there it is, and you're not prepared. I don't know, you can't plan it, can you? You really
No.
can't plan it.
Mm-mm.
So I know this might be a funny question, but for someone that's never seen Bigfoot, what would be something? What would be something that you would do if you do see one? What would you do?
It depends, doesn't it, from what distance it was. I'd like to think I could, what's the point in trying to film it on my little phone anyway? I mean, people would just go. But I think just to see it would be amazing from a distance, to actually see it. As much as I can say I believe Kerry and I believe it's out there, till you see one, it's hard to believe it. And I know that sounds contradictory, but sometimes seeing is believing, isn't it? And as much as I believe Kerry, I would, it would be something to actually see one. I don't know what I'd do though. Just would depend. Probably freak out. I don't know. Freeze.
Yeah. Well, I like the first part of your answer. It depends on how close it is. 'Cause
Yeah.
if it's too close, the first thing I'll do is soil myself.
Yeah.
But no, what you're saying though about seeing it for the first time, again, I know I keep pulling it back into the ghost hunting world, but the same thing. A lot of people, they want to believe in ghosts. But it doesn't matter what you show them. It doesn't matter what you put in front of them. It doesn't matter where you take them. It doesn't matter anything. They may want to believe in it. They may believe people who's had the experience in it. But until they see it for themselves firsthand, it's hard for them to accept it 100%. And even when some people do see it firsthand, they still reject it. They'll still say, no, that's not what it was.
Yeah. It doesn't fit in the box.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it will be undeniable if you saw a Bigfoot. I think that would pretty much seal the deal. I think it's that between believing and knowing, like a lot of people say. Believing is one thing, but actually knowing is a completely different thing. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Then it becomes the fact that you were trying to get the facts of. And I think that really sums it up there, because like I said, I mean, we don't know if they're facts. Only the person that has seen it knows the facts of what they saw. Whether if it's what they saw is what they're claiming it is, but what they saw is real. We will never know until we see it ourselves.
What would be interesting is, this happened to Kerry 10, 12 years ago. So he didn't have anyone to talk to about it. He hadn't even looked into Bigfoot. I mean, certainly not like we do now. But it would be interesting to see now if someone's been listening to us for the last couple of years and these channels and people talking about what they look like, and they're clued up now how their reaction is if they were to see one, as opposed to Kerry, who'd not even crossed his mind. So maybe if you're prepped up, I mean, I don't think you could ever be prepared, but maybe you would deal with it differently. I'd be interested to know if anyone has been, following Bigfoot Odyssey for the last few years, then saw one. Did having information about it make you deal with it better, or didn't it? That's
yeah. I mean, I could see the fact that the knowledge is power, obviously, but I think the initial making eye contact with it. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you have for that first 3 seconds. The minute you see it, you're just like, your brain immediately starts trying to decipher, could it be this? Could it be this? Nope, it's not that. Too tall. Okay, too wide. No, it smells funny. No.
Well, the shock factor alone, just you freeze. You just, what do I do? You're not trained for that. Here we hear about, safety in the mountain lions. We're, bear country. Rattlesnakes. Like you hear about that kind of stuff, but nobody preps you for running into. What do? You just. I don't know.
yeah.
I think another one of the big things too with where we live here is we have a lot of mountain terrain around us in Utah. So there's a lot of high mountains, and for creatures like that, you could always see them wanting to take the high ground so they could see things coming from a far distance away. That's very cool to know, Jeff. Thank you for pointing that out, because I've lived here my whole life and I've never really heard much conversation about it here, and I've obviously never seen or witnessed one here. But that doesn't mean it's not possible. I also heard that one of our mountains is a glacier. I never saw it, but I heard that one of our mountains is a glacier, right?
Well, there are glaciers, yes.
There you go. So the curiosity just kind of builds more and more. The more we talk about it, the more we discuss it, And I would love to have more people that like you're doing, and like on Bigfoot Odyssey. I'd love to have more people come on and share their stories and share their opinions and share their viewpoints, because it's different when you can talk one-on-one with them and you can hear it in their voice, and you can kind of get a feel for their personality and the emotion that they're putting into it, because when you feel the emotion, that could tell you a lot more than just the words can. It's like talking to somebody on the phone versus text messaging. Yeah. You could read that text message any way you want, but once you hear their voice, you know where they're coming from.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love that idea.
I think we need to do that for people, be here for people as well. But you're definitely right. You can hear it in the voice. We know that, don't we, Zach? With someone who's very sensitive, don't we? But that's
it is.
That shows you, though, you can't fake. There's certain things you cannot fake.
Why?
It's this little thing here that starts going in your chin when you're getting emotional. You cannot create that. You cannot fake it by yourself. And I can see it so many times, by doing this StreamYard. Sometimes I meet people, when we're not live. I talk to a lot of people, like Zach, don't we? We meet up in StreamYard to catch up with stuff. And I do it with people who, I've had encounters and stuff, and you get to hear it, like you say, in the voice. You can tell. Yeah. You can. I've just learned. I don't know about body language, but I'm picking up, indicators of when people are being truthful. I don't know when they're being exactly deceitful, but I definitely know when they're being truthful, and honest. So that's a good thing, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell when they're making eye contact with you on a StreamYard. Where's the camera? Oh, okay. Eye contact.
Exactly. I'm looking now, I think.
It's
And,
hard
well,
because where do you look?
I look at the monitor because I'm fascinated with who I'm talking to. Now we are coming up to 10 minutes to the end of the show. I do want to start off with, if anybody out there who is watching the show or who's going to see the show later on would like to talk to us, knowing that we're new, knowing that we're green, but we're also open-minded and we'd love to just converse with you, send us an email. The email is down below. It's tipatvofficial@gmail.com. Put in the subject header Learning Bigfoot so we know what the email is for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you'd like to come on the show or like to talk to us or share your story with us, even just like Danielle said off air, let us be another platform for you. If the more people talk about it, the more people open up about it, the more people can possibly get help for it. And we'd love to be a small part of that, to be able to help people.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say that.
So at this point, I do want to open the floor up to any questions in the chat. So if you can, just make sure you put it in all caps or you put a Q at the beginning of it so it's easy for us to spot in there. And we'll be happy to ask Daniela or Rooted Expeditions or try to answer it ourselves. So just let us know if you have any questions. While we're waiting for that, though, another thing I'm curious about is why people would want to fake Bigfoot sightings. Why would people do that?
One, you mean like people who dress up in costumes?
Well, that or leaving fake footprints or,
Yeah. Fake
Yeah.
evidence.
The thing is, you don't know half the time the context of these videos, do you? And you can see a video on YouTube about something and not know the history of it, and because someone's picked it up and shared it, we don't even know what these people would do. If it was a prank or something and it's just ended up in the Bigfoot category of things we see. So this is what I'm saying about, YouTube is quite a dangerous place really for facts, because there's a lot of rubbish out there, a lot of genuine rubbish that was made to be a prank, or whatever. It's just getting all mashed up with everything else. Where quite a few years ago, I said we're in like a cul-de-sac. All this information comes in, it's just swirling around in this cul-de-sac, and we're not, just going round and round in a circle because we can't. Everything's so mud now. The water's so muddy with lies and hoaxes and pranks and stuff. So. Why would anybody though come and make up an encounter? I don't think they would. I think it takes a lot for people to come forward with an encounter. I know a lot of people fakers for attention. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Some people do want the attention, but it really is the worst kind of attention you're going to get, because someone doesn't like what you put. You're going to rip you apart.
Oh yeah.
It's just anybody who thinks people are making this stuff up, and putting the faces on camera, and you can see the genuine. I mean, it's, would you do it? I'm not sure I would. I know I
wouldn't fake it.
a lot. Well, no, I'm not sure if I would even have the guts to. Maybe now I would. Maybe now I would, but before I wouldn't. I mean, I had a little encounter. It was not a Bigfoot, but it was a night of something following me that was growling. I don't know what it was, but I've never felt anywhere I could go and talk about it even or share it. I've only done it recently on, in the last couple of years. I've mentioned it a few times. But yeah, it takes a lot to come forward, because I've got just this, thing following me that was growling. I can't say anything else about it. I know it wasn't anything, a cow or a sheep or anything else we've got around here. Definitely felt like it was a big cat of some sort. But where'd you go and tell people?
Right.
This was over 10 years ago.
Now,
now, yeah, differently, but 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I actually tell a friend because it happened at Christmas. I did tell a friend, and she remembered it, and she set me up for a little joke on April Fool's Day by saying she'd seen this thing in the thought it was a cat. She says, I've seen it. I've seen what that thing you were talking about. She said, but I thought it was Annie, my Labrador. She's got a black Labrador. And she said she'd rung animal care and they were coming out to her. But like animal care just take you like stray dogs and cats in, they're not going out to see a wild leopard or a lynx.
Whatever it
Why are you ringing animal care? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
And then I realised it was like an April Fool's thing. And she made a joke out of it. And that's what people do. They just make jokes out of these things because you can't prove anything. You did some growling. How much do you have to drink? Or,
Right.
Not enough, apparently.
How much do you even drink? I don't even drink. So that's more disturbing. So it takes a bit to come forward. And sometimes you can only have a little bit of information. But if it's doing your head in, like, with me, like, what could it have been? So it's good to share your information as well. Just get it off your chest.
Absolutely.
You
Joey Hayes, any thoughts on what will be disclosed on Friday?
Oh, no. Is this the UFO thing? What's happening Friday?
I don't know.
What we're on about, Joey?
Not too sure.
Okay.
Let's see. Angie Crop, to the panel, what would you do with the information that you might get if you ever saw a Sasquatch? Molly, you go first.
Well, I'm kind of like Daniela. I think it would depend on the circumstances, because if I felt like I had, a little bit, you're not. I think you kind of fall through the cracks. I think you just people just take you with a grain of salt. And if you're claiming you see something up front and you have evidence and all this other stuff, then you really kind of run a fine line of what do I do with this? Where do I take this? Because is anyone going to take me seriously? B, is there some sort of, am I going to get shut down for it? Is there some sort of governmental thing that, like, what's going to happen afterwards? I feel like the people have a right to know. But I also feel like there's a safety first with Bigfoot, and then there's a safety after Bigfoot. So that's a very good question. We haven't crossed that bridge, but if we do.
For mine, mine's a little bit more basic. For me, I think it's kind of like where Carrie went with it. Because for me, I think if I had that experience, chances are I didn't have evidence. I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't collect proof, and I didn't have all that. It was just, holy crap, I just saw one.
Right.
Talking to other people who are going through PTSD and stuff like that because of their experiences and stuff, I think you connect with them on a deeper level. It's kind of like an alcoholic talking to somebody who never drinks. The person who never drinks can definitely help, but one alcoholic can understand another alcoholic's struggles, I guess is the best way to put it. So I think being able to connect with people, other people who have PTSD, and being able to say, I had that experience too in my own way, and these are the steps I'm taking to deal with it. Maybe these steps will help you as well. But if you need somebody to talk to in the middle of the night, if you're laying in bed and you're in a cold sweat because you're freaking out that you're thinking it's outside your window or something, I'm a phone call away. So I think it would be more of kind of a similar thing to what Carrie already does, is just forming a network of people that have had the experiences and they're trying to fight their way through it. I think that's probably where I'd go with it, but that's just a guess. What about you?
Well, if I saw, first off, if I'm in the woods, I'm going to be prepared to try to get video if I can. But if I did see one, I would quickly try to tell as many people as I could in the field just due to and try to give, if I have evidence, give the evidence that I have as quickly as possible. Just to do the fact that I believe, now I could be way off, but I believe that there's people out there that help keep these creatures under wraps, I guess you want to call it. So, and I feel like some people might get silenced on things like that. So that's what I would do. I would try to tell as many people as I could and give the evidence that I have and let them decide what it is. And so, because it's kind of hard to silence a whole bunch of people. It's
Yeah.
easier to silence a handful of people. So.
Yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
Mm.
That was a deep question, man.
Well,
Yeah.
And we already asked you, Daniela, but why don't you tell us again? What would you do if you saw one?
Depending on how close.
I haven't seen one, but I do know something. I do know something. I was told something. I was shown something. But am I going to say anything? No. I'll let them do that because, like you say, you open yourself up to so much. You know, you just become a target one way or another, positively or negatively.
Yep.
Do I know this information's right? I don't know. It'd be exciting if it is, but we'll see, won't we? Like I say, I think we're a long way off from really knowing what Bigfoot is. But I think, you know, we're going to get a bit closer in these next few years, maybe the next 6 months, who knows? We don't know, do we? All it takes is one to get hit by a truck right in the middle of a busy, or, you know, there's a few cars there, or someone with a truck and some men with them, and they can just throw them in. I mean, you just don't know. It's going to be one of those things. It's going to be a chance event that I think would really blow this thing up. Because, you know, so far, all the preparation and investigations and expeditions, still not got anything. Getting there, but, you know, you can see, can't you, over time. I think we know now what we need to get a bit more evidence, and it's all about money and technology, really. This is what people are lacking, is investment and technology to do it. I think that would really help.
Absolutely agree. Very well said. Well, we are up on our hour. I do want to thank everybody who tuned in. I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank everybody on this panel. Daniela, Hidden Existence, Bigfoot Odyssey, thank you for agreeing to be on the show with us.
Thank you.
Even though you said, you know, well, I don't know anything about it, you shared a lot of information that I find very valuable.
All right, well, good.
So I would I know that you're very well respected in the community, so I can't thank you enough for that.
Yes, thank you.
Rooted Expeditions, thank you for taking care of the stuff over there on the other side of you, because when I get these conversations, I forget there's a chat. You know, I'm stuck on the topic and I'm stuck on the conversation. So thank you for taking care of that, and thank you for helping make this show a reality. And again, anybody in the chat, anybody watching this video in the future, if you would like to come on a show, if you would like to talk to us, knowing we're green, feel free to send us an email at tipatvofficial@gmail.com. Thank you. And see, this is what I'm talking about. Put on the header, you know, put Learning Bigfoot. That way we know what the email is about, and we'll talk to you some more. And who knows? The more we can learn and the more information we can share that other people have had, I think the better we'll all be as far as acquiring more knowledge. We're not saying anything's fact. We're just saying it's knowledge. And knowledge is people's experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely.
Can't hurt.
No.
In my opinion. Anything else you'd like to do?
No, you stole the words out of my mouth. I was just going to say that. We do that a lot.
Well, thank you everybody again for tuning in, and don't forget to check out our premiere coming out on Friday. It's part two of one of our explorers, and trust me, this is not going to be one you're going to want to miss because some crazy stuff was caught.
You thought part 1 was good. Let's wait till part 2.
Yeah, there's some
Exciting.
some stuff on there. So
Yeah.
love you guys. Thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.